All right, so today we're going to finish up this chapter. If it kills us, man, I'll tell you, this chapter had a lot of information. I had to actually sit down with my pad and kind of map this thing out so I could understand it, because it's a lot of information. I mean, did anybody else feel that way, or was it just me?
It's not just you.
Did anybody read the chapter?
I read half of it.
All right. All right, well.
Realized it was that long.
I got the Cliff Notes version right here.
Okay.
I'm going to hook you up. So why don't we start off kind of with a little review of the whole thing. Because kind of going back, you might recall, we start off with a deep dive survey, and that's the whole foundation of that's the open-ended question. And that's where we find out what people want. Then we try to persuade them. We get them onto what the author calls a prospect self-discovery landing page. And that's where we ask them more questions. And he refers to that as the micro-commitment bucket survey. And the whole idea of that is to break down our database into segments. Then we prescribe. So now that we've got them broke down into segments, we can tell them what we think they ought to get to solve whatever their problem is. We then go into a profit maximization sequence, which I have to admit I do not understand. I have to reread that and kind of get my mind around that. And then finally, what this chapter is about is the email follow-up and feedback loop. So, email campaigns is something that's pretty easy to grasp, and he's got a really genius way of doing this now that I kind of mapped it out. How do y'all feel about email? There's a lot of controversy about email. Some people say email is dead. Other people will send you emails to tell you the email's dead. And, some people, like I believe email is still valid. I think it's still very useful.
Me too. I agree.
My fair statement in this is that if I respect the person that the email is coming from, they'll get my time. If
Right.
I haven't done any kind of validation or looked at anything, I will keep it moving. So it's alive if you have interest in what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know about y'all, but
I think email is still a valid way to communicate. I think as senders of the communications, we have to be brilliant in the way that we send communications, so that they are read, they're meaningful, and they're impactful.
That's right. And the truth is, by the time they get to this stage, they know who we are. So they've either stuck with us or they've dropped off, because they've already been through several steps with us. And we've got really two different tracks here. We've got for buyers, and then we've got for non-buyers. And the book starts off with the non-buyers. But he starts off with giving us a couple little tips on the emails. One of them that I'm going to start employing right away is he says that every email needs to have some kind of link in it to something. And he said the main reason for that is just to get your people used to clicking on something when you send an email. It's a conditioning thing. Because in some of these emails, you're going to want them to click to get back to your page so you can sell them something. So that conditioning is important. And he also talked about being very conversational, very short, just super short, snappy sentences, and brevity being the key on these emails, which I couldn't agree more. I think being brief is a real virtue when it comes to marketing. And
I agree. When I get an email with bullet points, I'm like, praise the Lord. I love it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to read like 2 paragraphs. I just read like, and delete. Done.
Just skip over all the stuff and go straight to the bullet points. And,
Yeah.
all right, got the point. Yay or nay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course, subject line is super important. I mean, entire books have been written on subject lines, but so he doesn't really get into that in a lot of detail. But you know, the non-buyer sequence, it's 12 emails, and I thought, you know, at first I was like, man, that's a lot of stuff to put together, but it's not really that hard. I think the longest sequence I've ever done was 6.
Are you talking about like a drip campaign for your sequence, or?
Yeah, what we would call a drip campaign.
Yeah.
In our business. So for somebody who has not bought, we've got the series of 6, and we'll just kind of go through them one by one and his rationale behind them. The first one is the results email, and that's where it's, the way he describes this is delivers the results of their survey, what it means to them, and how to apply that to solving whatever their problem is. Because you're really, it all boils down to we're offering a solution to something, because that's what we get paid for, is offering a solution. Doesn't matter if product, service, we're solving a problem. And that's what people pay for. So based on how they'd answered the questions earlier, because earlier we've already segmented them into, you know, three to 5 different buckets for different kinds of prospects. So this thing is very specific to them. And it's not a hard sell or anything. It's just, you know, real brief and very specific. Then we've got a series of 3 emails over 3 days that are coming to the person. And you can do it one of 2 ways. This is the story email. You can either have one long story broken into 3 parts, or you could have 3 standalone stories. Doesn't matter. But these are very soft sell, written from firsthand experience. And a couple things that we want to stress in this story is, naturally, we want to cover our 3 strongest points, one in each of these. And hang on, I've lost my place in my notes here. Also, how they might suffer from choosing a lower quality solution to the problem. And we want to tie everything back into the sales message. But this is very soft sell. It's just giving them a story. So that's 3 emails over 3 days. Now next, there's a series of 4, which is 5, 6, 7, and 8 if you're keeping track. He calls that the Sales Accelerator series. And this is where we're turning up the heat. So we're going to modify the offer to lower the barrier to entry. And he really emphasizes that does not mean discounting it more. That's not what we want to do here, because we've already offered our maximum discount. What we want to do is lower the barrier to entry. So things like offering a payment plan, or maybe offering it to where you can, instead of getting 3 for the price of 1, or you can get 2 for the price. Instead of getting 3 for the price of 2, you can get 2 for the price of 1.5. Or you could get free shipping if you get a certain combination. It's not lowering the price. It's just mixing it up so that they can get in cheaper. Getting the same value, same price. And
I feel like this would really click for me if some of us sold tangibles. But I feel like most of us, like Yolanda, you're even more still selling an experience than you are like coffee.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
And so my brain isn't connecting like
I'm having a hard time putting this to real estate.
Yeah, like I get the big picture. I don't get the little dots. Like, okay, so they go to this process is after a new lead would visit your website and get captured in like a bucket, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But they didn't buy anything. So in our case, I think maybe we could say that they didn't call us.
Okay.
Well, Ryan is selling a service also. He's selling coaching. So that's not a tangible item that you walk away with. So what are you buying one, getting one free of, or one half off? It may be the upsell coaching, or the executive one, or the private one.
Yeah, like maybe, okay, so they didn't buy the full coaching program for $20,000. You might say, hey, I've got, you can get the full coaching program for $20,000, and we'll split it down into payments of, just, 4 payments of $5,000, broke down over a year. Or say, I've got this, Kickstarter program where, it's only, we're going to take the whole thing down and condense it down and make it really fast and do it in half the time for 15,000. So it's not discounting the original one, but it's offering something different that's easier to digest.
Yeah, that's how I bought my Tony Robbins program.
Is it really?
Like, yeah, because Tony Robbins sent out like a very similar series.
Yeah, because
With like different surveys on, different surveys you could take on coaching and what type of personality you are and like stuff like that. And then would send out, Christmas, whatever, a Christmas special. So.
yeah, and that's part of the genius of it is like that personality style test that you're taking is putting you into categories.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you think, oh, I'm going to find out what personality I am. It's like, yeah, there's some people finding out what personality you are. Yeah.
It's all for your benefit, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it is because, what we're offering is really in their best interest. We're just trying to help them make the right decision.
Right.
At least we should feel that way. And also we got a new deadline on this because, of course, we always got a deadline on everything. Otherwise, people just, procrastinate and they'll never do it. Which brings us to the next email, which is the urgency email. Hey, better do this before it's too late. And that applies to, and speaking of personality types, each of these emails applies to a certain personality type. So this is to get to those people that tend to procrastinate. Then for the analytical people, the next email is the FAQ email, where you just kind of lay out some FAQs, and that appeals to the analytical kind of people. You put a guarantee or something in there too.
You guys feel like the urgency email people really see through that now?
According to the author, they don't.
Well, club does because we know better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the real hazards, Yolanda, is that in this group here, since we're all marketers, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but I am so jaded, I don't believe anything that ads say. It drives Pat nuts. She's like, hey, check this out. This says blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, they're just saying that, Yeah, that's bullshit. I don't know. I'm like,
I don't know if you guys heard CJ's thing about we were in the store shopping and he's looking at the prices of stuff and saying, oh yeah, and you know how it says compared to another place that sell the same thing.
That is such bullshit.
He is so over it. So day before yesterday, whatever day we went on Tappa, we left Tappa. we were in Neiman Marcus, and he said, just for the fun of it, let me see how much this shirt costs. Well, the shirt was $398.
What? Yeah, how about $3.98?
No, $398. And
Yeah.
so naturally, we've read all these books that shows us how to get this stuff done. And, you know, there was somebody buying the shirt. And I said, well, the thing is, I'm trying to explain to him, if she knows that the $398 shirt is worth that to her, then there's a demographics for that. He said, well, I don't ever want to be in that demographic because this is
Me
crazy.
neither, girl.
CJ's hilarious.
Give me my Sunshine Thrift Store.
Yeah.
He's very, very jaded, extreme. I am too, don't get me wrong, but not as
Oh,
bad.
you are. Yeah, you and CJ would be the worst prospect ever to try to sell something to.
You don't think I would?
Sorry.
Well, there's two of them.
That's true.
Both sitting there like this. Yeah, I
I'm the
don't
worst.
believe a damn thing you're saying.
Sorry. I might even finish your sentence for you based on expert secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't tricking me. Son of a bitch.
I wouldn't say all that.
You'd be thinking it.
No, she wouldn't.
Not me. I wouldn't be thinking that part. I'd be thinking I'm keeping my
Hey,
money.
have you listened to Dan Henry interview yet?
No, I saw that it got posted.
You talk to me after you've heard that.
It got posted in the chat yesterday.
Hey, Cliff and Donna, how do y'all feel about profanity?
They hate it.
Are you on mute?
Yeah,
We're off mute now.
we're often,
But we don't hate it.
no, we don't hate it. I mean, I don't mind it
Expression.
as long as it's useful and effective.
Well, wait till you hear this interview.
Wait to hear Dan Henry.
I'm going to.
We have to preface this with everything.
Was that an interview on the book club or what is the interview?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Well, Abdul's going to post it, and Dan Henry's this famous internet marketer.
Okay.
And so
Gary V does it.
Yeah, that's what I said.
he makes Gary V look like Mr. Rogers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
have to count every time he says
Gary-
MS.
Gary Vaynerchuk tries to work it in, just so he can sound badass.
He's 31 years old.
But this guy, well, he's a young guy for one
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, he's 31 years old. He looks like he's 16,
No, he does look young.
and he's multimillionaire. Brilliant guy. And I swear, I've never seen anybody use the F word more and more effectively and more naturally than him. And
Really means.
I married a New Yorker.
Hey, can I interrupt for a quick second? Cliff, do you want to be added to the group chat for the book club, for the 5 a.m. book club?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah, he needs to be at
Yeah,
it.
you want to be part of that. Just beware, it can eat up time in your day.
You can also mute your notifications and just do
Well,
what
that's
CJ.
what I had to do.
We had to do that because,
Yeah.
This thing was going off every 2 seconds. Like, these people ever work?
yeah, it was getting bad. Well, it was in the beginning. It was a year ago.
Yeah, we were all
We
enthralled with
mute notifications, and then we just go back at the end of the day and go through them. I saw that Abdul did post the Dan Henry interview, and I don't know where Dana went, but if she can hear me, Dana, to answer your question, yes, it was last Thursday that Dan Henry was on and got interviewed by the group.
Yeah, so somehow Abdul managed to get this guy to commit to an interview. And
Amazing.
unfortunately, it was during the day because, Dan Henry is not a get up early kind of person. So it was in the afternoon. But that guy, he spent an hour and a half with us. And it was one of those kind of interviews where Abdul just kind of had to get him started. It's like, okay, here's a question and go.
And he went,
And he just talked for an hour and a half, man.
yeah,
it
we
was
hardly had to
amazing.
ask him anything.
Wow.
Yeah. And the guy said, goes, yeah, I don't really do interviews. So, but I was like,
We were
man,
amazed.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just beware of that. But the reason I ask is profanity is okay here in the 5 a.m. book club. In fact, we use it more for humor than anything else.
True.
Like making fun of Gary V. You know?
Yeah. I actually like Gary Vee.
I do too. I like him. He, although it is kind of funny to me how sometimes when he's working in his F words, it's a little awkward because he's trying too hard.
What's that pole?
What's that pole
What's
there?
that pole there?
Oh,
We trying to set this up like almost like a tripod thing here.
Oh.
It looked a lot bigger.
It looks like,
It's like, is that a stripper pole?
is that a stripper pole? Wait a minute here
What's going on there?
I'm just kidding.
What's going on here?
No, we're adjusting because he's sharing my chair. So, and he's
Aw,
Oh, that's nice.
you guys are so cute.
That's real nice.
comfortable.
Look
All right, so we'll get back on these emails here and finish this up.
at all your notes.
Yeah, I got 3 pages of notes I took last night to
You
finish
did.
this
You
chapter.
worked hard on that.
So I was like, man, I've got to understand this somehow. And for me, just putting it on a piece of paper is the only way I can understand it. So next one's a testimonial email. And that applies to the people who have, more of a, I forget the personality type. Dana would know it. But, the ones that are more in tune with their emotions.
Oh, the amiables?
Yes, amiables. So a testimonial
I like
email
that.
appeals to them. And then the last day email. And that's to bring everybody back around to where, hey, it's time to make a decision. Let's go. Because otherwise it'll just languish forever. Now the next 4, the final 4, is what he calls the feedback loop. And this next one I think is genius. The subject line is, do you hate me?
Yeah.
And it's kind of written with a little humorous tone because
We've heard that before, though. Do you hate me?
oh yeah,
Yeah. You talked about that before.
yeah, you talked about this before.
Yeah.
And now we're implementing it.
The Do You Hate Me survey.
So it's not really about closing the sale. And that's one thing that's important to remember on this. It's to get the reader to another survey because they haven't purchased yet. So obviously, whatever it is we're offering doesn't suit them. So that's fine. What we've got is something they don't need. But we need to find out what they do need. So in this one, it's got 2 open-ended questions. And basically, you're just asking them why they didn't buy. And the whole genius behind this is nobody wants to be categorized as somebody that hates somebody. So
Yeah.
even though the whole thing's humorous and it's just kind of a joke, people have a tendency to fill this thing out in detail just because they don't want you to think they hate you. So, and by this time you've built up a rapport. If they're still on your email and haven't unsubscribed by now, they don't hate you. They're interested, but they just weren't interested enough to buy. So you're going to use the answers of this to refine your video, refine your landing page. You're going to use it to find out new objections that you haven't thought of yet and refine your FAQs. So this whole thing is designed to help you refine your presentation so you get more sales. And then, and this is optional, but you can use those to make a live webinar to address those concerns. So, and if you do, that's the next email, is to announce that you're reopening your offering and you're going to, trying to read my handwriting here, sorry. You're going to let them know that, hey, I realized I didn't answer everybody's questions. I didn't tell you some important things. So I got this webinar. I'm going to answer some questions that came up. And, since I didn't do a good job of telling everybody all the answers, I'm going to reopen this thing so that everybody's got another chance, just in case answering these questions helps. And you do the thing, and people will sign up or not. If you don't do the webinar, then you do a FAQ, like a written version of it. Like, hey, I realized I didn't answer everybody's questions, so I'm going to reopen it. I got the answers to the questions because some people let me know that I didn't do a very good job of answering everything. Does this make any sense?
Mhm.
I hope. And then finally, if that doesn't work, this is where we give up, sort of. It's called the pivot survey email. So obviously, whatever it was you had isn't right for them. That is perfectly clear now. You've done everything to try to get them into whatever it is that you're selling. So now you give them 3 choices. It's like, hey, what would you be interested in talking about next? And you give them 3 choices. And you tally those up, whichever one is the number 1 choice, that's what you focus on for your next offer. And then you start the whole thing over again.
Oh my God.
I think that last one, I think if you give them those 3 choices, and then more importantly, you ask them, if this is not valuable to you, do you know of someone else who this may be valuable to? Maybe kind of like softly ask them for a referral, because it's not working for them, but they may know somebody else who it's working for.
That's right, Cliff. And that's something that I didn't mention, is that we're supposed to be doing that throughout the process.
Okay.
Is kind of, trying to get those referrals.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right, because that's something that's easy to forget. In fact, I forgot to mention you were going through this.
Like I said, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. It's not like, people are going to decide to buy or sell a house.
No.
In the time of these emails, just because our emails are good. Like, if they don't have a motivation or the money or whatever to move, they're not going to move. So what are we trying to get people to buy into? You know what I mean? Or like, so can our emails and surveys just be directed towards getting them to sign up for something, be on our newsletter list? Like, what are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I think you're right, Dana, because, really what we need them to do is to get onto a regular communication with us so that we're on their radar screen long term.
Yeah. And I don't want to be doing the free market analysis. We'll come and
Oh, that's so lame.
No,
because you're,
How much is your house worth?
yeah, and you're running your ass everywhere, and then they're not,
So that
I
you
don't
can
wanna-
piss them off because they think their house is worth more than it really is.
exactly.
no, we don't do that. We don't do free
We
market analysis.
quit doing that because
So
it pisses people off, because most people believe that their house is worth more than it is, and that's just human nature.
You said.
mhm.
So then, you're starting off with a conflict.
Yeah. So what else that's I guess the $1 million question right now.
It is, and
What
I
are we
think
getting them to sign up for or commit to?
now the author says this applies to every business, and he did mention real estate at one point in the book. Now, of course, if he was smart, he'd come out with a real estate version of this book.
No kidding.
But
And he would leave his entire story out.
mhm.
He would skip all of that.
Oh yeah, you mean in the beginning?
Yeah, the book could be half the
sure.
thickness.
I would say, I think this, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to give a review on the book, but yeah, I mean, something that really, I bet he sells a coaching program, specific to real estate, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I'm
guess
sure
that's what I need to figure out is get, what are you getting people to sign up for? So
But,
Well, I think what you said, Dana, was right, though, about the newsletters, about informational type of things.
yeah, and I think one thing we're going to have to really sit down
Yeah.
and figure out amongst us realtors is, what is it that we're really selling? Or do we want to be their personal consultant for real estate forever? Which I think is probably the best route, to where they think of us as the go-to person for anything that has to do with their house. But I don't know. But I'm committing myself to translating this into real estate somehow, because I can see the power in this, because the psychology in this is solid. And it makes total sense. Now, of course, for the other project Pat and I are working on with our sales training course for photographers, I mean, this thing's perfect for that. Because in that last email is, okay, so what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about lighting? You want to talk about posing? You want to talk about, I don't know what else.
A million other things.
And,
About equipment.
then we could just do another
Yeah.
course for courses. Man, this thing just is genius.
what if we had like a book or a guide or something to get people to subscribe to? Like if you're not ready to move now, you can purchase our room by room guide on how to stage your home, or
Yeah.
11 steps to maximize your equity, or you could sell some type of a guide or something. That way 3 years down the road they may list their home with someone else, but at least you made $9.99 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, because that kind of gets us out. And even though this is real estate talk, this applies to you, Yolanda and CJ. Gets us out of our main source of income. Because I'll tell you one thing that worries me, Dana, is that, okay, the market's really good right now. We're all making good money. But what's going to happen in the next time it tanks?
Oh my gosh, don't even worry about that. You know what's going to happen?
It will.
All the shit realtors are going to go away.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you're going to kiss half of your competition goodbye. I'm already seeing that here.
Oh yeah,
And
we are too.
and
That's true.
the good ones will stand strong. I started in 2010 when our market was total junk up here. So I look forward to that market.
I started in 2006.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We'll be
I look
fine.
forward to it too, but
We'll be reading.
our income is going to go down slightly.
Yeah. We'll be reading books and writing books on how to overcome that. how to overcome a terrible market.
Yeah. I mean, market conditions don't dictate anything to me, but our income will change a little bit.
Mhm.
So, having some other way of earning money, albeit a small way, like the book that you mentioned,
Yeah,
at least that help stabilize cash flow.
absolutely.
And that could mean the difference between having to lay somebody off, or between having to, cut out something in your lifestyle. It's like none of us are going to starve.
That book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, not to talk about another book, but they talk about after every war and after every economy decline, there's more opportunity
Yeah.
in those times of distress than any time else. So I think that's a good idea to prepare for that, because people like us that are learning and that will be prepared will probably have a pretty good game plan. Let's hope.
Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of working on this other side project, is that, just to kind of, so we don't have all our eggs in a single basket. Is, we're actually having problems here that the market's too hot, where it is darn near impossible to find somebody who's willing to sell their house.
Yeah.
We just got a serious shortage over here in St. Petersburg of housing. So, it proves to me that it doesn't matter. There's challenges no matter what. There aren't any just, oh, let the good times roll. There's none of that. So, getting back on this, just to kind of wrap it up, the buyer sequence is very similar to this, except that the first part, instead of trying to find out why they didn't buy it and reconvince them, is that we have a welcome email, which, it's the usual welcome, here's how you use whatever it is that you purchased from us. Here's how you take advantage of our service or whatever it is that we're offering. But then the next 3 emails are something that I don't think anybody's doing. He calls it the consumption series, where he's saying that you got to make sure the person's using whatever it is that you offered them. And he brought up a very good point, said if the person purchases from you and they're not using it, you don't have a satisfied customer. And that's what we're after here. We're after satisfied customers, and you've got to make sure they're using it.
So how do you make sure they're using it? What do you do?
By telling them how to use it, giving them some tips on things that they can do with whatever it is that you've sold them.
So it says one idea is that you create a message focused around the most important thing they need to do first when your product arrives. This gives them a small goal they can easily accomplish, but serves to get them moving once they take that first step. So Cliff, you mentioned yesterday that you sell a product that sometimes people don't use.
Right.
So this would be an important part of this chapter for you.
Yeah, it would be. And I have been thinking about that. And what I came up with is that if you can identify by asking or through the survey, if you can identify what part of your product will provide them the greatest value to either earning money or improving their business, and if you can get to that and then engage them on that, which means like really fine-tunedly focus on that with them, then you can get them to at least start using the product, because they know that if they do that, then they would immediately start to produce or earn income. So that's kind of what I'm trying to focus on now. So there may be like certain aspects of your product that maybe is not really useful to them, but you got to find that very useful piece that will definitely help them to move their business and increase in revenues. And that's going to be your engaging monitor that grabs them and keeps them.
Yeah. This makes me think of Pat signed up for this monthly subscription-based thing with Sandy Krakowski, and she lost Pat as a customer, not because that her content wasn't good, because she had tons of great content. The training was great, everything was great, but it was disorganized, and Pat didn't even know where to start with the thing. So she ended up dropping off very quickly.
After 2 months.
Whereas if Sandy had done this and sent out a series of emails like, hey, here's where you get started. Here's how to do this. Hey, you might want to take a look at this, because this thing will help you with that. And had sent out a few emails like that just to kind of keep the person focused, then Pat wouldn't have dropped off. And I think if Pat dropped off, there's probably many others who dropped off for the same reason.
Yeah.
I did write to them and tell them about that, and apparently I was not the only one, because now like the month after I dropped off, because I know someone who's in her program and for about a year, and she's extremely successful. She doubled her business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
she's been extremely successful. And so that's why I wanted to see her program.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty excited about it, but there was no way that I could even entertain getting involved in it. And the month after I dropped off, apparently she must have been bombarded with emails, and I don't know for how long, but now it's extremely structured.
Or maybe your email was just so powerful
I don't think so.
that you made her sit down and go, you know what?
No, she got tons of emails, guaranteed. So
Right.
now it's like, start here.
Yeah. I think that is critical. And I've actually used that in my speaking engagements because I used to try to write scripts and go in and have everything lined up and what I'm going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that for me as being useless. And the
Really?
reason, because if you have a room of, let's say, 200 people, the most important thing you can do as a presenter is identify your clients.
Who's in the room?
Who's in the room. That's number one. Number two is find out what they need. Because you may be presenting stuff and they were like, I've done that, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to hear that. But you need to find out exactly what they need. So what I do in some cases is I rip up my script in front of them in the beginning. And then I tell them that, you know what, I'm going to deviate from the norm. I'm here today because I want to add value. So I really need to see who's in the room, and I start doing surveys. So I'll say, like, right there on the spot, I'll say, like, if you've been in this business for a year and you've this amount of money, raise your hand. Or if you're a real advanced, super advanced, and you've been in this business over this and you've made this amount, and you raise your hand. And then I'll identify the medium person. And then I'll say, out of this group here, you guys are going to spend 2 hours with me. What would be the most important thing that would add value to your business? And then I would go to the 3 groups. And then I know exactly how to engage them. And that's what I would focus on. So I would change my whole script just for that audience.
And the most amazing thing
Interesting.
that he doesn't even have to write down what they said. He will just go. Not only 2 hours, 2.5 hours to 3 hours. He can just go and address all of the different elements. And also, too, what that does is it creates that engagement.
That's the most important thing. When you engage, and that's why I like Gary. Gary V talks about attention and self-awareness and things of that nature. And that's really the key. That's how you keep a client. You know, if you can grab their attention and keep it, and the only way you're going to grab their attention and keep it is by giving them what they're looking for. So in the way you give them what they're looking for, you have to have that engagement.
And that affects it.
And you got to meet them where their needs are. And I've done that in the past and been very successful with it. And what I need to do is kind of like get back to it and just do it on a regular basis.
Mm.
Are you a Toastmaster, Cliff?
No, I'm not a Toastmaster. I'm just
Orator.
basically like an orator. And I happen to be very knowledgeable about the area that I'm in. So I was able to handle any question regarding that subject. So that's what they consider to be a SME, a subject matter expert. And if you know your craft, if you know what you're doing, then it doesn't matter where the conversation is going, because you can handle all aspects of it. And that's kind of where I try to do is I call that stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I love it.
What's your subject matter?
Okay, so I'm previously a banker. I worked in default services with mortgages. So, of course, I know everything about foreclosures, short sales, deed in lieu's, things of that nature. Negotiations. I probably have completed more than 10,000 short sales around the country in probably every city in every state. And I know a lot of realtors and investors because I've negotiated deals with them. But not only that I negotiate with them, most realtors and investors they had no clue on how to do short sale. I found myself training them how to do it. In order for me to meet my goals, I needed to teach people how to do it so we can actually get some deals done.
Right.
And that's when I decided that I said, you know, you're on the wrong side of the fence here, because I'm in this little measly salary here. I'm closing a lot of deals for the banks, and I'm watching the HUD, and these guys are walking away with cold hard cash.
That's right.
So I gradually jumped out of the banking business and jumped into the real estate business because, you know, I like doing what I'm doing, but more importantly, I would like to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great, man.
I like
Yeah.
your story. You have a good story.
That's a great story.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a good
Wow.
story.
Learn how to craft that into income. So we're really excited about the surveys, the book, the information that's being shared so that we can craft that into a tangible and consistent, ever-growing source of income.
Right. And
Yeah, because I can see how what we're learning here is especially useful for people that are in the business of disseminating information and educating.
It's good stuff. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, even though, you know, it'd be very easy to just kind of discount this and say, oh, well, you know, this really isn't for me as a realtor. It is. It's just that I don't understand it good enough. And I'm going to figure out how to take this and somehow apply it.
So just to let you guys know, Cliff and Donna, on Saturdays, we do, what would you call it, like
Well, it's kind of like
an educational
like a
part,
working
workshop type thing.
The last book we did was Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, which since you're in the education business, Cliff, I would highly recommend that you read it. And what we're doing is Abdul's got a educational program he's working on, and I do too, this sales training for photographers.
okay.
And what we're doing is we're going through together, step by step, and putting together our program.
It's a webinar.
And that whole thing's based on a webinar model where you do a free webinar, which is informational, but the whole objective of that is to sell your whole training program.
Right.
And we're going through that and putting it together and just working through it together every Saturday morning at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're welcome to join us.
I think you should.
I think you should, because, you know, even though we're partway into it, you know, you'll catch on quick, and I'll send over, if it's of interest to you, I'll send over the cheat sheet that I made. And I did the same thing with that book. I took the whole book and I made an outline and just kind of broke it down so that I got the whole book on one page so I could understand it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds good. It sounds like where I'm trying to go with my business, and most importantly, you had just touched on it, and you talked about, you know, how do you make money when the market crashes and things of that nature. And I'm just a firm believer that there's always opportunities to make money.
Yes.
Where the market is, it really depends on your craftiness, on how you structure, how you do business. But and that's going to come because real estate is cyclical. So
Absolutely.
we're going to run right into it. It's just a matter of being prepared to be able to take it on when it comes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that Chuck and I do that's maybe a little different than other realtors is when it's a buyer's market, we buy properties at a lower price and we restore them. We actually have a company called Clatter Restorations. And like we buy them and we
rehab them.
Rehab them really, really well. Like not like a typical flipper. We call them lipstick flips.
Yeah, we're not flippers.
We're not flippers. Like we really do like all new electrical, new plumbing, new roof, new HVAC, you know, new custom kitchen, stainless and granite. I mean, it's really, really nice the way we do it. So it's not like a typical flipper, and we really make sure that it's done really well. And we've done that when it was
when the market's
when
down.
the market's down.
And some of them we sell, because of course it's going to need cash flow, and then some we hold.
Sweet. That's exactly what I had been talking to my wife about. The last time the market tanked, I was caught into corporate America, and I'm talking about deep because I was with Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
Oh, so you were one of the people who got hurt bad.
Damn.
Yeah. Then I went to Fannie Mae and really trying to help the economy with dealing with people around the country and how they could deal with the foreclosures and things of that nature. And I spent a lot of time in that, so I kind of missed that opportunity. But this time around,
It'll come around again.
Oh yeah, it'll
It's
happen
going to
again.
come around again because we think interest rates are going to go up again.
oh yeah, there's no question about
I mean,
it.
you know,
The writing's already on the wall. Everything's been set in motion. And the bankers, because I'm a banker previously, if someone commits a crime and gets away with a lot of money and don't get caught, what do you think they're going to do again?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, only one person really took the heat for that, and that was Bernie Madoff, and he's away. And I actually think that they shouldn't have put Bernie Madoff in jail.
That's another subject.
That's a whole nother story, but
We'll talk about that over coffee.
yeah, but
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
yeah, it's going to happen again, and we got to figure out how we're going to capitalize off this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, I'm sure glad that you guys decided to join us here this morning, because I know Yolanda likes you, but Pat and I really like you guys.
Oh, great.
Really glad.
You better get your own friends.
Yeah.
Get your own friends,
We
Pat.
said
and
we need to get our own friends. No, we're just gonna
I love you.
we're gonna poach your friends. She's gonna regret the day she ever invited us over. That whole group, we're gonna start one by one.
Yolanda, we love you. Don't worry.
Don't worry, Yolanda, you'll be invited too.
To the barbecue.
You're funny.
Well, what do you say we all go out there and have a good, productive day?
Chuck,
Yeah. Cheers.
I have a busy day today.
Have a
I
great
have a
day,
very
everybody.
busy day. I'm doing a wedding at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Have a great day, you guys.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.